Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Jeff Gerstmann Show. Special edition? I don't know. It's hey, it's if you're watching live, it's Monday night, which I guess is weird. It's dark outside. It's 7:30 p.m. on the 2nd. I know. I'm weirded out by it too. I'm Jeff Gerstmann, hosting the show for this week. And thanks for having me. Boy, I did not expect to be here right now. I don't know where I expected to be right now. So gosh. So yesterday, so my wife's pregnant. I don't know if we got into that over the last 9 months or so, but my wife is pregnant. Her due date is in about 5 days, 6 days, something like that. But the kids have always they all came early one way. The other two they showed up early. And so I was always just like, yeah, I mean the due date's coming up, but like realistically, I got to get a bag packed. And that's my bag. It's packed right there if you're watching the video. So yesterday, we're getting ready. My wife's, her stomach's, she's getting pains in different zones and areas at night, and as we're looking at it going like, yeah, this is coming along any day now. This is probably gonna get to somewhere over the next few days and blah blah blah, and these Braxton Hicks contractions every day for days and all this other stuff. So she's been really fucking going through it. Yesterday, man, I'm sorry. It's like it's a fucking blur. Yesterday, my son just seems a little off. He seems like a little, my daughter has been snotty, like not snotty nosed, but she's been stuffy for like the past 3 or 4 days. But it's like she hasn't really been sick or anything. It's just been like, she's just stuffy, a little froggy throated, kind of whatever. And then my son takes a nap in the middle of the day, which he almost never does. But he goes right down. He like probably falls asleep in his chair. And I'm like, oh shit, man. All right, I'll put you down, bud. So I throw him in here, for 40 minutes or something like that. He wakes up. I grab him out. I'm like, this guy is on fire. And I don't think he's like me. I don't think, well, he probably is like me, like I wake up from a nap like, what the fuck is going on? Like, just disaster overheated like mess. And I'm like, holy shit, where am I? I don't nap well. I don't like to nap. I don't take a lot of naps. But he's got a fever. And he's pinging like low 100, which, for a baby is not actually, it's not until they get over like, I think like 101 or some 102 or something before they go like, hey dog, you got to call it. So it's not like a dangerous, but like the last fucking thing we want is for my wife to get sick and then go into labor. And so we've been careful about going out and doing things like my daughter is going to go to preschool this year. But we held her out until after the school started a few weeks ago, and we held her out. We're going to hold her out until, after the baby comes, and then we'll send her off, and then we'll all get sick over and over again. It'll fucking suck, but like whatever. We brought her to orientation day, a month ago or something like that. It was like the first day, basically the first day of school. Like let's, we'll go in for the first day. And she got sick, and like she was there for 2 fucking hours, and then we all got sick afterwards. That was a few weeks ago. And so as soon as he hit a fever, I just kind of looked at my wife and said, you got to get the fuck out of here. You got to go. Because at this point we have no idea, like, is this going to be, like, is this just a, one of these baby viruses that where they just get, it's like, these kids are always getting fucking sick. Is this COVID? Is this, like there's a lot of other things, you're just like looking at it going like, shit, all right, well, we don't know what this is. So you got to go. And then I will hang out here with the kids and I will figure out what the hell's going on and whatever. So she goes out to her mom's and stays there, holes up there. The original plan was that her mom was going to come when the time comes and we got to go to the hospital and have a baby and all that stuff. Her mom's going to come and stay with the kids for a couple of days. However long it takes, 2-3 days. It's our first. We were there for 3. Our second or third, we were there for 2 or something like that. But, so that was the idea, and I was like, well, shit, okay, all right. If this is COVID, we can't have someone else come in and watch them. I'm already here, so I'll probably already get it. Maybe she dodged it. Hopefully, sending her off to stay with, so it's just like, fucking shit, man. What the fuck, so it was just like, it was real, just like, all right, we're in it in a totally different way, in a totally different, like, weird, stressful way. Like, okay, we thought this was going to be the normal one, but fucking let's go. So she splits, she grabs all their stuff, forgets like 2 bags, like, and hits the road and gets out of here. And so I hang out with the kids and, like I have not gotten sick. So I think it is, I'm pretty sure it's one of these. And so like, I want to be there. I don't know if that's selfish, I would like to be there. When my third child, my second daughter, I don't know what we want to call it here, when she is born. But, if it doesn't work that way, it doesn't work that way. So I was like, well, if I end up just being here with sick kids and I'm sick and we're just here, just living house large, then whatever, man, we'll order pizza. It'll be fine. But, like I don't know if you've ever tried to give a COVID test to a 2-year-old. He's not into it. He's not like, yo, ram that shit in my nose, dog. He's not like that. He's not like, ha, 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 ooh, fun. Like my daughter, I can lie to her. She's 4 and I can be like, hey, we need to do nose swirlies and that'll make you feel better. And she hates it, but like, she'll like go, and kind of survive it. So I gave them both. I had to, give him 2 and her, because like I gave him 1 more this morning. Trying to fucking figure this out. They're all negative. So I don't think it's COVID. COVID's like a weird, the symptoms of it are weird now anyway. So who knows? So I think it's just, my son got a fever. His fever is broke. His fever is done. As far as I can tell. I mean, well, cross your fingers, right? I don't know. His fever went away today. And hopefully it'll stay that way. He's, there's still like this dry, hacky cough. And, it's like, is it allergies? Is this just some weird thing? What the, we'll probably never know ultimately. But I haven't gotten it. It seems unlikely that my wife will get it. So, so she'll probably come home tomorrow. Anyway, so on her end, she went to the hospital last night because she started, of course, as soon as she gets, I was like, oh, these contractions are contractions now. And I'm sitting here going, fuck, yeah, of course. As soon as all this jumps off, now you're going to go into labor and it's going to be this big, crazy situation. So she goes in. They take a look at her. They're like, yeah, you're getting there. But like, not really. I mean, you're getting there, but it might, maybe tomorrow. It's looking like tomorrow. And so they have her like walk the halls of the hospital and like she has to hang out there for like an hour and a half or something. Well, they, because they're going to check her out again and be like, are you further dilated, whatever whatever, right? And so they take a look at her after an hour of her sitting on a medicine ball or whatever they have her doing. And then they're like, yeah, you should probably just go. So she goes back to her mom's house, sleeps. Well, I don't know. She's having like weird off kilter contractions. So sleep is maybe not the word for it. And then she had a doctor's appointment this morning that was already pre-scheduled for, weeks in advance. This was going to be the kind of like final doctor's appointment before the due date. So she goes in and this morning and they take a look at her and they're like, I mean, it's another 0.5 centimeter. So you're getting like the shit's happening. They told her like, your uterus is really unhappy, but, get out of here and maybe you'll be back later today. Maybe you'll be back tomorrow. And so it's a lot of just like, all right, we'll see how it goes. So she went back to her mom's and, I'm here with the sick kids and trying to figure out what's going on with them. And yeah, I don't know. My kids are, they're still funky, but, I don't think they're over it. His fever broke and so it's just this dry, hacky cough that you just look at and go like, I mean, it's, allergies. Like I feel like shit. I felt like shit for a month. Like I felt like shit for the last fucking 30 years. I don't know what these kids are complaining about. Jesus. Yeah, so I don't know. Like they seem like they're doing better, just a little stuffy. And so my wife will probably come back tomorrow, and then we're gonna at some point we're gonna go to the hospital, and there will maybe I'll be there. Hopefully I'll be there, and there a baby will be born. But that hasn't happened yet, and so I'm here. So hi. So I, really yesterday while I was watching the wrestling pay-per-view, I was like, I should record a thing real quick. And this has been, the last month has been, because she's been going through these, they call them Braxton Hicks contractions, I believe is the full name. And basically they're like fake contractions or unproductive contractions. It basically just means like, hey, how would you like to be in random pain constantly? And it's not helping you have the baby. And it's just like, here's some fucking random bullshit for you to deal with. And so she's been dealing with that a lot. And, she's been 9 months pregnant for a while. So she's been insanely uncomfortable. I've been, doing what I can to help out and all that stuff. So the last month has really just been fucking wild. So I want to apologize. I'm a little behind on Game Boys to Men for sure, because it's just, I've been handling a lot of this stuff, on the side or in the main, whatever, I don't, but yeah, the last month or so has just been crazy. And of course, as we're coming in for the landing, it's going to be this weird landing. My first daughter, we had to induce her extremely early because my wife got a condition called cholestasis. That is like, if the numbers of some level get high enough, it can endanger the baby. And so when we got the results of the test back, we got a call from the hospital that said, here are your test results. You should, pack your bags. You're coming to the hospital tonight. And it's like, at this point, that's like 4 weeks early ahead of the due date or something. And that was I left work. I was like, shit, what the fuck? Like, what? All right. I just bought Marvel, whatever, Alliance, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 just came out on the Switch. What am I going to do? So that whole process was terrible because, they had to induce her. And when a body is not ready to deliver a baby and you pump it full of drugs to make it have the baby, I'm only looking on, right? So I can only kind of like watch it and watch that process unfold as they fill her full of Pitocin and all this other stuff. The roller coaster of, and now we've given you too much, and so the contractions are too intense, and now we need to back it off, and we got to make the idea, the anxiety that, like that again, I'll speak from my perspective. It was fucked. And so for my wife, it was like that times 1,000. And so that was a bad fucking time. And so since then we've been, there's always the worry that that condition's going to come back, and it did not with my son, and it did not this time around, either. And so we've just wanted to ride it out normally. And I don't know, I like science. But the business of medicine is a disaster. It's frightening. We moved down here, and my wife had to get a new lady doctor for her lady parts, for dealing with babies and whatever else. And she started going to someone who has been practicing in the area for years. She had a sister who lived in the area years before they went to him and vouched, all this stuff. He's very well regarded, was like a great guy. And he was there for the birth of, well, he wasn't there. Now I think about it, he was there. He was there to catch our second kid. And then midway through this process, he suddenly abruptly retired, and we were moved over to another doctor. And this guy, I have not met him. I assume I will here in the next few days here. His advice has been things like, and this is why I think women really get, hey, women get fucked over a lot. I don't know if you know this about society, but to focus it on this particular area, when it comes to medicine, when it comes to believing a women when she's in pain, whatever, like doctors are fucking terrible. And I, cause I talk to my wife about it all the time. She's had doctors who were women who were actually way worse and way rougher with her than the men were, and vice versa. And, it's just, there's no ultimate pattern to that end of it. But, the science of having a child is, for as much as it has come forward, it oftentimes feels like there's no money in making this process better. So I don't know. Yeah, we're just gonna, the advancements are focused on instead turning this operation into the most fucking bing bang boom in and out kind of thing you can. Like, they're trying to get my wife to schedule, like, well, yeah, I mean, hey, if it doesn't happen, then you would want to get on the books and schedule it so we can induce you and get this done, and let's get this done, and let's get this done. And, there's a lot of, when you get into the hospital, they will try to push you onto drugs like Pitocin that will kind of help shore up the contractions and kind of move things along. And we had to use it the first time through, because we were being induced and all of that sort of stuff. But it's there's documentaries about it. Like, Ricky Lake made a documentary about it that I saw years ago, and I was just like, well, this is an old documentary, so I'm sure when we get in there it's going to be totally different. And I was like, this is fucked. Like, it just feels like hospitals don't want you to fucking be there. They want an empty bed so they can put somebody else in it and start making more money. It's fucking scary, It's scary that it's still like that. That's still the thing, but yeah, it's really crazy having been through this part of the process. And I think that, when it comes to women and believing them, and when it comes to, their health issues, and especially around OBs and stuff like that, there are good ones. I mean, like, it's not like the entire practice is a disaster or whatever, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. It just feels like it is not built around, listening to the woman who is having the baby, because she's crazy. She's having a baby. We can't trust her. She's full of hormones and yelling all the time. What do we do? And it's nuts, man. It's fucking nuts. So anyway, I don't know. We're gonna have a baby in sometime in the foreseeable future. And I thought I would not be here this week, but I am. But I don't know how long. So I figured like, hey, let's get on here Monday night. I put the kids to bed. I don't want to be too loud because my daughter's basically right above me here. I got a camera. I can see her. She ain't moving. It's fine. So I don't know. I got some Del Taco and figured, why don't we do a show? Why don't we do a podcast? So I slapped some news stories together. We'll talk about some video games. We'll go through the news. Maybe we'll check out some emails. And I will apologize here in advance because I'm kind of a zombie, because I was, awake all last night wondering, like, am I going to get a phone call that I got to go to the hospital? Like what's, all that sort of stuff. So it's been a hectic handful of days. And so let's do a show. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back and we'll talk about video games. Hey, traditional bed sheets, they're disgusting. No, really, they can harbor more bacteria than a toilet seat. That can lead to acne, allergies, stuffy noses. It's just gross, right? It's just gross. Miracle Maid offers a whole line of self-cleaning, eco-friendly bedding, such as sheets, pillowcases, and comforters that prevent 99% of bacteria and require 3 times less laundry. And that's not all. They also have self-cooling properties. Man, self-cooling. And yes, it will keep you cool. Using silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Maid sheets are thermoregulating, so they're designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, so you get better sleep every night. And what I was saying up there about self-cleaning, that silver helps them stay cleaner and fresher 3 times longer than other sheets. That'll help you keep the stank out of them, and it's nice. You don't want the stank in your sheets. That means you can wash them a little less frequently and, save money on laundry and all that other stuff too. None of this would matter if they felt like nasty burlap sacks or something. You're in luck. Miracle Maid sheets, they've got luxurious comfort and quality. That's right. And without the high price tag of other luxury brands, and they feel as nice, if not nicer, than bed sheets used by some 5-star hotels. It's designed for your skin. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Stop getting your pores all clogged up by your sheets and pillowcases and stuff. You don't need those breakouts. You don't need that acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. You want to get on board? It's time. Go to trymiracle.com/Jeff to try Miracle Maid sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use the promo code Jeff at checkout, you'll save even more. That's right, an extra 20%, and you get 3 free towels. Man, Miracle is so confident in their product, it's back with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Maid. Go to trymiracle.com/Jeff and use the code Jeff to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Jeff to treat yourself. And thanks to Miracle Maid for sponsoring the episode. Okay, why don't we talk about video games? What I don't have a button for that. I don't have a video games button. I need a. What here? This will work. Close enough. I don't know. That's like video games. What have I been playing? A video. Well, I think there's one game I can't talk about. I can say that I have Spider-Man 2. And that I'll be covering it eventually, but in the middle of everything that's going on, I will also tell you I have not had a ton of time to look at it. Not that I would. Anyway, El Paso Elsewhere is out. This is the latest game from Strange Scaffold. It is a Max Payne-esque bullet time noir game. It is a game where you click the right mouse and you dive in slow motion and have 2 pistols and shoot stuff, and it is very much inspired by It is very much, utilizing mechanics from Max Payne, but it is doing it in this almost, scaled down, indie sort of way. It is, the graphics are, they're not PlayStation 1. Like it doesn't have like a full like kind of demake thing going on, but it is a very deliberate kind of earlier 3D style. And also it is very tightly level based. So the game kind of operates around an elevator. And so you get into a level, you have hostages to save, you have enemies to defeat, and you basically do those things. And then once you've rescued all the hostages, you work your way back to the elevator. Now the game itself is about you are a pill junkie with dual pistols, who has fallen in love with the lady of the leader of the vampires, and she's bringing about the end of the world. I have not finished the game yet, so I can't really put it into too much detail. But basically, you are getting these like low muttered story segments that are, Max Payne-esque in their own way, but also like incredible on their own for, as much as it's, it's wearing its influences quite deliberately between Max Payne and some text treatments that are very much like Control. El Paso Elsewhere it's tight. It feels good. The shooting feels great. You're getting your dual pistols or your shotgun or your Tommy gun and Molotov cocktails later on even. And you're shooting zombies and werewolves and, like you're one-shotting werewolves in the head as they're diving at you. And then they're just like flying past you and sticking to the wall with physics because you killed them on the way in. And it's a super satisfying process of doing that sort of stuff. And then, when you get back to the elevator or, along the way, you get more monologue, you get more, kind of little bits and pieces of story. It has this hip hop soundtrack that when you get to big moments in the story, the tracks then have lyrics, like a Metal Gear Revengeance, I suppose. It's a good feel. It's like $20. It's on Steam. It's on Xbox. I think it's on itch as well. I thought that I would have played the rest of it by now, but it has not worked out that way just yet. It is a wonderful game. I think the voice acting, the soundtrack, the audio portion of the game, it has a moaning toilet in it. Just really fun level-based combat. Like, it gives you a lot of good stopping points. So you can kind of like, let's bust out a few more levels of this and go. And, it's like funny, but not, it's not the writing is really good. I really like the writing. I think the tone that they hit with the main character, James Savage, I believe is his name. If I'm remembering that correctly, he is just a fantastic character. There's a lot of good like turn to camera moments in the dialogue where he literally stops and goes, "Oh, hi," just like good fourth wall breaks on some of that stuff. But just like overall, I think the self-deprecation of the character is really well written. You kind of get a little bit of flashback with the relationship that is forming the crux of this game. I'm I don't know, 10, 15 levels in. I believe there's around 50 chapters to it, and each chapter is kind of its own level as far as I can tell. And so it feels meaty, I suppose I would say. And I've had a wonderful time with it so far. I streamed like the first 3 hours of it. That's on YouTube. There's a fast way to get to the YouTube. I think it's if you go to jeffgerstmann.com. I think if you go to guard.bike, I think that takes you to the YouTube channel. So go check out El Paso Elsewhere. It's delightful. It is a wonderful experience. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that for sure. It's got a very cool look to it and it feels really good. I'm playing with a mouse and keyboard because that's how I played Max Payne. And so that just feels right to me. You also can get stakes, like wooden stakes, because you're fighting vampires. And you get them sometimes from breaking wooden objects in the world. And so you've got a dodge roll, or you can just do your dive or whatever. And so I'm also spending the entire game diving through mountains of chairs to break them up to try to get stakes. And it's that's great too. That's just a whole lot of fun. Yeah, I recommend it. You know, I haven't finished it, but I do, based on what I've seen so far, I really do recommend you at least go give it a look. Go check out the video I put up. I think it'll give you a good idea of kind of what you're in for with that one. And then Counter-Strike 2, the sequel to Counter-Strike. They made another Counter-Strike, which is very funny because it has one Steam achievement right now that is literally, the name of it is Counter-Strike, TOO, which is funny. If you've been following this at all, like, you've seen the trailers or whatever, where they're like, the smoke is sick. Like that as far as I can tell is the thing. Like the smoke is sick, man. It's volumetric. Like the smoke fills corridors. And then when you shoot through it or throw grenades into it, the smoke will puff and move and, all that. That seems like the big hook for it. I don't know. People seem, I don't know. It is. So I used to play Arms Race, which is the kind of gun game mode where you advance through different weapons by getting kills. That's not currently in the game. Deathmatch is in there if you want to play that. Otherwise it's Counter-Strike. And they've got their 4 groups of maps, and one of them is Dust 2, and you can, they've made updates. They've done a bunch of stuff to it, and you can go read what they're like, the servers run at a sub-tick rate. So when you pull the trigger pulls you, like it works. It does the thing. And it feels scaled back in a way that feels weird for them to have launched it, because by launching it, they have effectively removed CSGO from existence. Because CSGO, the Steam depot for it or whatever, just became Counter-Strike 2 last week. And that's that. That also means that Counter-Strike Go was available on the Mac, and CS2, Creative Suite 2, Photoshop, the whole suite. No, Counter-Strike 2 is not. And Mac gaming, how much to care about it? Like, no, don't. But also, there are people complaining who are just like, I have a massive inventory with thousands of dollars of skins that I can no longer even look at because Counter-Strike 2 is not available on the Mac. What are you doing? And the only quote from Valve is basically, yeah, it's not on the Mac right now. I don't know. People, I don't know. A lot of people are playing it. It seems like it is doing quite well and whatever else. And I don't think there's necessarily it's not like, oh my God, Valve is in trouble. But I've seen some players seem like they are very unhappy with certain aspects of it, or feeling like, hey man, this seems like something that shouldn't have, like this, for something that they were running in beta. Like, why just promote it to full release right now? It still seems like it's not done. It still seems like it needs more. Like, it just is maybe not what it needs to be. And that's why we're going back to Counter-Strike 1.6. Motherfuckers. 1.6, motherfucker. No, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, history repeating itself, like someone is mad about a Counter-Strike update. But also, yeah, I don't know. It just seems like it is not, it doesn't necessarily have a level of polish that you feel like it's something that is, hey, we're replacing this game with this other game, and it's the same game, but it's different in some meaningful ways, and blah, blah, blah. Like, it feels a little, Well, like even as a completely 1,000% casual Counter-Strike player, I am still looking at it and going, this seems like it is maybe a little more bare bones than I thought it would be. So it's real weird. I don't know, like why I don't know why they would launch. I guess the reason why you launch stuff when it's not quite ready, when you don't necessarily have like because it's not like they had to like we had a pre-order campaign or it's not like they had to ship Counter-Strike 2 to meet some external pressure deadline that I know of. I mean, I'm sure internally they were like, what the fuck are we doing? We got to get it. But when you're doing testing of a thing, whether it's beta testing of something that you are advancing or, in my experience, it's with website stuff. It's really the only thing I can kind of map it onto is years of being involved in web development as a guy who says, what if it did this? What if when they got all the achievements, it said S, like a S rank? Was that no? Yeah. Okay, all right. You eventually reach a point where no one is testing it anymore. And so you need new testers, you need new bodies, you need new people. And you need fresh eyeballs to continue to look at a thing. And maybe they got to a point where they're like, we're just not getting bug reports from the people who are playing the game. We're not getting like meaningful data from their sessions. We're just not getting what we need out of this. And maybe they were just like, fuck it, ship it to millions of people. We'll know what's wrong with it within the hour. So maybe they were just like, all right, we're going to get this. We're going to push this out the door. We know it's not 1,000%, we know it's not 100% like for like drop-in engine replacement for the previous game. We know we're going to get it where we need to get it to eventually because it's Counter-Strike. We're not dumb, but hey. And it makes sense it makes sense for them to replace the game, and having the games coexist is a weird thing because this is still in the end, at the end of the day, this is still an update to CS:GO. It is much like Overwatch 2. You know what I mean? Like imagine a world where Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 existed side by side, and how weird that would be. I mean, that would be weird because you would just have people playing Overwatch 1 and just being like, yeah, I don't know. This one has the number of players per side that I like, so we're sticking with this one. It would be a disaster. So anyway, I don't know. I'm sure the skins scene is probably still running unabated. They probably made sure that part works, right? But I don't know. I think it looks better. It feels fine. I don't, as someone who does not play a ton of Counter-Strike and probably never will, I look at it and go like, yeah, all right. It's Counter-Strike. This is still Counter-Strike. I hope that they get Arms Race in there soon because that's the Counter-Strike I like to play. I don't ever want to defuse a bomb in a video game, in a shooter. That's not a mode I want to interact with. I just don't care. They're going to B. Who cares? Let them go to B. Can I shoot? Can I just shoot people? Can I just shoot people? That's all I'm here to do. And from the time I spent playing the deathmatch mode in Counter-Strike 2, I'll tell you, I can't shoot people for shit. I am fucking trash at this game. I mean, I was not great at Counter-Strike Go, but and maybe it's just because I haven't played CS:GO in a very long time. But like, I loaded this up and I was like, I can't hit shit. Even when I do, people are shooting me in the head while I am shooting them in the shin, and that is a losing proposition every single time. It does not go my way. 10 times out of 10, I don't win that fight. And these are the clickinest ass head clickers in the world, as far as I'm concerned. So, congratulations to everyone involved in Counter-Strike 2. Who would have thunk it? Here we are. So yeah, I've been playing some other stuff that I can't quite talk about, and we'll talk about all that stuff probably on the other side of something resembling like a paternity leave, you know, when the baby gets here. And I don't know, we're going to figure it all out. I said it on because I recorded a podcast on Sunday and put it up in the feed. I think it went out this morning. Because it really seemed like, okay, well, I'm going to be at the hospital I need to click this button because I'm going to get a phone call at any minute and I got to throw this bag in the car and I got to figure it out. Whatever. I got to wait for someone to come watch these kids and then I got to tag out and go do this. And, you know, it really seemed like we were at that point. And yet here we are. Anyway, you can go back and listen to the beginning of the show if you want to hear all that part again, because that's the fun thing about doing a live thing is, you know, hey, people miss the front part of the show. So why don't we get into the rest of the news? That I do have a button for. Epic Mega Games has laid off a fuck ton of people. 830 job cuts, according to Epic, as reported on by Eurogamer. This is a whole lot of people from a company that just went around buying up a bunch of stuff. You know, they bought Harmonix. They have acquired a lot of studios along the way, and they have been growing, but not, you know, at a massive speed, but they have been growing, and then went through some of those acquisitions. They bought Bandcamp, which people, when they bought Bandcamp, it was like, well, what the fuck are you going to do with Bandcamp? And in the back of my head, I was looking at it and going like, okay, so they bought Bandcamp and they bought Harmonix. There's actually something really interesting they could do. If they, you know, by using Bandcamp and or opening up Fortnite to Bandcamp artists, basically, I think that they could have had a really fascinating business that maybe wouldn't have been all that viable in a post-pandemic era. But like, I think that I think there's a market for virtual concerts. You know, back when the pandemic was full on as opposed to less on right now. Less on, but still there. When it was in full on mode, I went to a 100 Gex show in Minecraft. And it was fucking cool. And, you know, some other stuff like that, you know, like I think the kind of URL show circuit, that scene, you know, Funny Rave and all that sort of stuff, I think is like really, really fucking fun. Like people doing DJ sets on Twitch and whatever else. I think that a lot of that stuff is really cool. So anyway, I think taking that as being a really cool thing. And then you look at like, okay, you own Bandcamp, you own Fortnite, you've got Harmonix in the middle there as kind of a middleware provider. What could you connect these dots in a way that could make it so that artists could do some really cool shit inside the Unreal Engine, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? And so that was always the thing I looked at and said, like, well, maybe they're going to get into this because it just seems like a thing, but it's just, I don't know. It just felt like they bought Bandcamp and people were like hand wringing about it, and they were like, well, we're not going to fuck with it. And like, yeah, I guess they didn't fuck with it. Instead, they just sold it off to a company called Song Trader, which it seems like a music marketing company. Like they do some artist stuff. They just sold it off along with these layoffs. Was it Mediatonic, the Fall Guys people apparently got hit pretty hard in these layoffs, to the point where people who worked there were just like, this studio has been decimated. And they were like, no, we're going to continue investing in Fall Guys. You know, like, with who? With fucking who, man? Fat Scout in chat says, from what I heard, Epic's plan for Harmonix was to make Fuser 2, but as a thing in Fortnite. But that plan has essentially been scuttled, and most of Harmonix is now on the seasonal Fortnite content crowd. Yeah. I mean, yeah. That lines up. I had not heard specifically that, they were going to do something with stems inside of Fortnite, like a fuse or two or whatever, but that lines up. And there are some Harmonix people that I think are still working on a thing. I don't think that they necessarily cut bait on that entire acquisition. So, but I don't know. So it's obviously a really shitty thing, but it's just for a company that has become so integral to so many different things. This is 16% of the company. Tim Sweeney, the head of Epic, has posted, the letter that he sent around to the company got posted to their site as well. It leaked out, so they're just like, fuck it, we'll just run it. Or maybe that was the plan all along, who knows? But it says, as we shared earlier, we were laying off around 16% of Epic employees, were divesting Bandcamp and spinning off most of Super Awesome, which I believe Super Awesome is a marketing firm that they owned. This is for a while now, we've been spending way more money than we earn, investing in the next evolution of Epic and growing Fortnite as a metaverse-inspired ecosystem for creators. I had long been optimistic that we could power through this transition without layoffs, but in retrospect, I see that this was unrealistic. That to me says like, okay, well, you did the pandemic thing that a lot of companies did of just like, we're a lot of our money is basically 0%. We can go buy things we could go get money to buy things for not a lot of money, and money is basically free right now, so we're going to go buy a bunch of shit. And so they acquired some studios, and they Mediaton, the Fall Guys people, Harmonix, like, the Bandcamp stuff, like they went around and bought some shit. And then those numbers didn't last forever, because of course they fucking didn't, because eventually everyone had to go back to work instead of like hanging out at home and playing video games all day with a Microsoft Teams window open on their other monitor that they just make sure remains active. Eventually people were like, I got to go back to work. So everything, it's like, hours of Netflix is really down, huh? Yeah. Well, the world fucking, maybe it shouldn't have. We could argue that, but yeah. Yeah. Fucking eventually that shit was not going to be around forever. Did you build an entire chunk of your business around the idea that it was going to be like this forever? Meanwhile, you have a lot of companies that are also like, everyone's got to get back into the office. It's like, all right. Y'all fucked it up. We could have had a good thing going. He goes on. I'm not going to necessarily read the whole thing, but here it says, while Fortnite is starting to grow again, the growth is driven primarily by creator content with significant revenue sharing. And this is a lower margin business than we had when Fortnite Battle Royale took off and began funding our expansion. Success with the creator ecosystem is a great achievement, but it means a major structural change to our economics. We've been cutting costs, blah, 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 but we still ended up far short of financial sustainability. We concluded that layoffs are the only way, and that doing them now and on this scale will stabilize our finances. Yeah, so Super Awesome, I guess, is an advertising company. It's going to become an independent company. Some of their tool set stuff will remain part of Epic, and then, they are selling off Bandcamp. People that were impacted will get 6 months of base pay and 6 months of healthcare, accelerated stock option vesting, I suppose I should say. Some 401k stuff and whatever. So as an out package, it's not the worst thing in the, like 6 months is not bad considering some people are getting layoffs and getting jack shit. Like that's at least something. For those still at Epic, you'll hear more from senior leaders about the path forward for your team. Epic's prospects for the future are strong. We have amazing game experiences across multiple platforms. We've built the best engine in the world and will be hosting Unreal Fest next week to bring the community together and spotlight the things they are building with Unreal Engine and UEFN. Creators are making a living building for the Fortnite ecosystem, with time in third-party games now exceeding first-party. We're cutting costs without breaking development on our core lines of businesses so we can continue to focus on our ambitious plans. About 2/3 of the layoffs were in teams outside of core development. Some of our products and initiatives will land on schedule, and some may not ship when planned because they are under-resourced for the time being. We're okay with the schedule trade-off if it means holding on to our ability to achieve our goals, get to the other side of profitability, and become a leading metaverse company. I think it's really embarrassing for Sweeney to continue to use the term metaverse when it's and don't get me wrong, I actually think what they've done with Fortnite in terms of its third-party experiences and all that, the Robloxification of Fortnite, if you will, that they are actually building something you could credibly try to call a metaverse. You know, this isn't some blockchain fucking, like, you know, this isn't like, oh, check it out, man, we're doing a metaverse. You got to put on the headset and fucking plug your crypto wallet into my cock. It's a real thing. Fortnite is out there making a ton of money. It is bringing IPs together, blah, 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 blah. If you really want to try to call something a metaverse, Fortnite is about as close as it gets. That said, I think trying to continue to make the word metaverse happen is fucking psychotic in 2023. Like, it has just been like, how did you not get the memo? Pretty sure. How did Tim Sweeney not get the memo that, like, this is this is not a buzzword that we're moving forward with. You need to find another fucking way to refer to your thing, because at this point, metaverse just makes it sound like a joke and makes it sound dated. It makes it sound like a crypto nightmare, and it makes it sound like a disaster. And Fortnite is really none of those things. Fortnite is actually a pretty vibrant thing. Again, they made this big pivot into the kind of third-party creation stuff, and that's gotten them into something resembling that Roblox done. Not on the scale of Roblox, I don't think, but it's gotten them a whole new income stream. But again, they got to cut in those pesky creators so it doesn't monetize as well as their owned and operated shit does, I suppose. It just sounds like a buzzword. It sounds fake, like the idea of just saying, like, of ending this whole letter with just like, we've got to get our metaverse together. Like, what? You laid off 900 people and you're over here talking about a fucking metaverse? Like, what? Are you fucking high? Are you for fucking real, man? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's just a tone thing. I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? It's like, you use the wrong word, it's one of those things that you just go like, wow, this guy just seems extremely out of touch if that's how he's going to end this letter about all these layoffs. So we're going to become a leading metaverse company. Like, congratulations. You already are, I think. I don't know. Because the rest of them are like a dude in a fucking one-room office in some office park somewhere with no fucking name on the door, just hoping no one notices that he's selling his own crypto tokens and pumping up the prices or whatever else. So there's a FAQ that is attached to this as well. We aren't cutting any core businesses, and we're continuing to invest in games with Fortnite first-party development to the So the talk was that a lot of this headcount was outside of the primary development pipelines that Epic has. That it was some, whether it was HR. I believe I maybe saw. I did not run this down, but I thought I saw someone say that their entire diversity department was part of this cut, which seems Um, yeah, perhaps yikes is the word. Again, I saw that going around. I was not able to fully verify that. About 2/3 of the layoffs were in teams outside of core development, is what it says here. Anyway, okay, sorry. It's the continue to invest in Fortnite first-party development, the Fortnite creator ecosystem and economy, Rocket League, and Fall Guys, and services for developers, including the Unreal Engine, Epic Games Store, Epic Games Publishing, Epic Online Services, Kids Web Services, MetaHuman, Twinmotion, Quixel Megascans, Capturing Reality, ArtStation, Sketchfab, and Fab. So hanging on to most of their core stuff from the looks of things. And continuing to work on, Epic Games Store. MetaHuman is the thing that you can you can scan in a model really easily. It's a web-based thing you get access to. I have access to it. I wanted to make a VTuber, and I just haven't had time to look at it. What was the scope? We're cutting costs without sacrificing development or lines of businesses, so that means business functions are disproportionately impacted compared to development functions. Will Epic continue hiring? Yes, we will continue hiring for critical roles while maintaining net zero at our new size. And then the last little bit here, the last little piece of their FAQ. What about Project Liberty? Mr. Sweeney, what about Project Liberty? We've been taking steps to reduce our legal expenses, but are continuing the fight against Apple and Google distribution monopolies and taxes so the metaverse can thrive and bring opportunity to Epic and all other developers. So yes, Project Liberty is their operation to try to allow third-party stores onto iOS devices as well as Android devices, which you could do right now, right? I don't think anything's stopping you from doing it on Android devices. You just root them. Boy, I don't know what their daily revenue was off of Fortnite on Apple devices, but bet it would have been nice to have that coming in this entire time, huh? But that would not have saved the metaverse. So good on them. They're pushing to try to get this case into the Supreme Court. That is, I think, the latest motion on that is that they're kind of pushing, is that they're appealing and pushing this stuff, like, because Epic won some part of the case and Apple won some part of the case, and I think they're both trying to force it to the Supreme Court. On the surface, I very much agree with the idea of third-party stores on phones and open devices. But I also know that, like, people are often dumb and click on links they shouldn't click on, and they follow tutorials written by scam artists. There's like, oh, this is how I get free V-Bucks, huh? I click on this, click on this, click on this. Just type in my password here. Okay, all right, I'll type in my password here. And then get scammed out of a bunch of money. So the idea of opening up the Apple ecosystem in a way that would allow people to get scammed and fucked over by weird, shady apps and all the other stuff doesn't seem like a great thing. And so that's the push and pull, right? Is like, that doesn't seem like a great thing. Also, I don't think Apple's like monopoly on their devices. I don't think that that's a great thing either. It's a real damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of thing. And I don't know what the right answer is. I think the right answer is like, hey man, if you want to do that, you should buy an Android phone. And do that, because you can do the shit out of that there. You do whatever you want, man. Install fucking F-Droid or whatever, and, install fucking open source apps written and maintained by maniacs all day long. Fucking install entire different branches of Android. Yeah, just fucking erase your phone and put crazy shit on it. I used to jailbreak my phone back in the day. My iPhone. Back when they didn't let you do custom ringtones. I was like, well, I've got to jailbreak this device. What's the password? It's Alpine. Okay, all right. We're going to SSH into our phone now, which was fun. It was actually the coolest part about jailbreaking your phone was that at some point in the process, you would trip something, the jailbreak would start moving, and you would see just a terminal printout, just a terminal readout, a terminal window on your phone start scrolling super fucking fast. And you're just like watching all this stuff happen on your phone, and you're just like, I'm in. You're running firmware umbrella so that you can downgrade to weird firmware. I did it for a while, and then you run Cydia, the jailbreak app store, and all the apps in there are bad, but it's cool that they're there. I don't know, that stuff's neat. And I see, I look around and you see a lot of people that are just like, yo dog, I modded the Spotify app on Android to remove ads, and now you don't need an account to do, like all this crazy shit that people are doing, hacking fucking apps on Android. And there's like, we've got a YouTube alternative that makes YouTube not garbage. And you're like, oh, weird. Huh. That stuff does sound intriguing, but not intriguing enough for me to use an Android device on a daily basis. I just bought a new Android device, like a refurb, I guess. It's not the latest Pixel, but I needed a burner to run my audio streaming stuff on. So I bought a new one of those because the old one broke. My kids, I don't know, they broke my old phone somehow, my old burner somehow. Anyway, like this just seems like a thing, like the way Epic is framing this battle against Apple with their 1984 ad, and this is, we've got to do, and the idea that they're like putting the fucking S on their chest, going, someone has to stand up to Apple. It will be us. The metaverse can only thrive if we do this for all developers. I'm like, yeah. It's something that you look at and go like, I would like to get behind this. This seems like the right thing, but also you are everything else about the way you carry yourself sometimes is really hard to handle. And I'm one of the people who thinks that the Epic Game Store is basically fine. Is it feature light compared to Steam? Abso-fucking-lutely. It's not even, it's day and night, man. The Epic Game Store is like it works, but it doesn't have this. It's the opposite of bells and whistles. They got like buzzers and the sound of someone logging out of AOL Instant Messenger. Just a door slamming noise, But you can buy games on there, and they get exclusives, and they do the thing, and it's fine. I don't know, like whatever. The games work. Their achievement system seems fucking barely there. You go look at their Trello board. Like they have a public Trello board where they post like what they're working on, but everything on there is like, this has been pushed to long term. This is more than 6 months out now. We don't know, like everything that resembles a new feature for the Epic Game Store on their Trello board is basically just like, fucking, I don't know, we'll get to it, whatever. Achievements, yeah, we kind of shipped it. I don't know. It's really weird. It's really weird. But yeah, so I'm one of the people that is, I don't complain that much about them having their own storefront or whatever. It is what it is. And I think I still know people who work at Epic. I actually have been too busy to kind of check in and see who's still there or whatever. But like, there's good people that are probably still at that company. And all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. It's but some of the, just again, it should be very easy to want us to back them against Apple in this fight. But the way they've framed it, the way they've presented it, it feels a little icky sometimes. You're just like, I don't know, guys. Like you keep talking about how much you are doing this for the industry. We've got to, but like framing it here again, closing on the word metaverse. We're continuing the fight against Apple and Google distribution monopolies and taxes so the metaverse can thrive and bring opportunity to Epic and all other developers. Like it reads like a loyalty pledge. So I don't know. Well, I do know that like it's a damn shame that they bought all that stuff and then laid a bunch of people off. I think that's fucking garbage. I think that's like the worst. It's one of the worst case scenarios, right? Of just like, we bought a thing and now we realized we don't want some of it. Like sometimes you buy a big company that has a lot of different stuff in it and you have to take it all. That's a little different, right? If you bought like a cluster of websites, for example, and then 6 months in, you were like, we like this one, but we don't know anything about this other stuff. We should probably find some some trusted partner to maybe buy this stuff. That's a little different than going, hey, we like these Fall Guys. Let's bring them in. We got to lay a bunch of people off. We love Bandcamp. Turns out we don't love Bandcamp all that much. Turns out we have not figured out what the fuck to do with Bandcamp. Why did we buy Bandcamp again? Because we could. What I would love to have known what the strategy was there. If there was anything other than just like, maybe it was just one of those situations where it's just like, this is a really good deal. We should just fucking buy it. What are we going to do with it? I don't know. Well, fucking Fortnite. Download Flax from Fortnite. Download Flax from indie artists via Fortnite. How's that? Does that work? So whatever. I think there could have been like a lot of interesting, like you think about the Unreal Engine and you think about music licensing and an asset store and all this other stuff. Like what if any Bandcamp artist could have like checked a box and said like, yes, you can license these songs to appear in your video game. And here's another revenue stream for me to make money on, like just having all that stuff integrated could have been something really interesting, but no. So I don't know. And every time Bandcamp drama has happened, it's led to people remembering like, hey, it's not built for it, but what if we turned Itch into a music hosting and downloading service and someone built a media player that you could embed into your Itch page and sell music there? It's not ideal, but also it's not ideal in a way that made me wonder, like, why doesn't Itch just build that? I got to thinking last week, and this is, I'm sure that there's an answer to this question that would make me go, oh, okay, you're right. Yes, of course. Why would I do that? That's crazy. But like, what is Bandcamp's business really? They operate a payment system and a paywall and a CDN. Or I mean, they probably don't even operate their own. They serve files via streaming or via downloads. And all they do is they built generic pages that you cannot really edit, that you can upload your music to, and they will serve it out in a variety of formats, and you can set the pricing, and they will take their cut, and blah, blah, blah. And they have some email functionality and some additional functionality built in to allow people to sell their own merchandise. And I don't know if Bandcamp gets a cut of that, or if that's if it's just like, hey man, we're selling shirts. We're selling slab bracelets over here. We're selling cassette tapes. And the more I thought about it, I was just like, man, you could build, especially right now at a time when you have a lot of uncertainty around the Bandcamp brand. And I bet you don't sign an exclusivity agreement when you sign up to sell your stuff on Bandcamp. Why doesn't someone just build a new Bandcamp? Why aren't we just building a new Bandcamp? Granted, you would build it and you would not have any people uploading music on it right away, and Bandcamp is still the strongest name in the game. But at a time when you have a lot of artists that are like uncertain about the future of the platform, it's just delivering fucking files. It's just delivering fucking downloads. It's not that complicated of a business, is it? It's not that hard of a fucking business. It can't be. And that's why I say that's whenever I think that, I always think like, there's got to be something I'm fucking missing here. And the only thing I can come up with is like, well, they do, like, I can go back and download FLACs of tracks I purchased 15 years, like the Shatter soundtrack for PS3. And so the hosting in perpetuity, is something that, you're like, okay, well, we got this money once, and then we have to host this, and then what if someone decides they want to download these FLACs 40 times in a row, and then suddenly we lost money on that purchase, and whoops. So there's that sort of stuff. Patreon's not no, hey, believe me, when Patreon, this is back before I was on Patreon. I spent a good long time looking at Patreon and going like, you could build this. You could probably build a better one of these. And their product has evolved a lot since then. Patreon is they just did a redesign that I'm not 100% sold on, but that's always the way. They're bringing something. I don't think it's rolled out yet, but when they do, I do intend to use it. They're rolling out. Basically, it's like you can follow a Patreon without putting money into it. The idea being you kind of have a free tier on Patreon or whatever. And so you go to patreon.com/Jeff Gerstmann. I don't know that is active. I don't think it works yet. There's something that they're building towards, I believe. But head over there, sign up, get some stuff, get an ad-free version of this show. You get the Hall of Fame. You get all these episodes of Game Boys to Men. More to come on the other side of all this other stuff. All this baby business. And so on and so forth. But yeah, I do like Patreon. I've come to respect their product in a number of ways. Though there's definitely parts of it that I look at and go like, yeah. But it's parts that I look at and go, I know how this happens. I've been in meetings where I used to hear all the time about like, oh, this video player that you yourself personally you control is garbage, and I'm like, oh, yeah, having a video player is. Everyone expects you when you were building your own video player or delivering your own serving your own videos, I guess I should say. Whether you're plugging someone else's video player into your website or whatever it is. People will always compare the experience directly to YouTube, which is YouTube works. I mean, like YouTube breaks a lot. Let's not front completely here. YouTube is not a airtight experience all the time, but it works, and it works around the world. It's hard. It's hard to serve videos rapidly to the entire world. You will be like, oh, by the way, people in Australia are getting like 2K a second out of your video downloads. You're like, good. What the fuck? Why? What the fuck is that about? Anyway, web businesses. I think that there should be more of them than the 5 or so that we have. And that is, I maybe there's something about this that I'm not processing, but Bandcamp's business does not look that hard to duplicate. The thing that would be hard to duplicate is the entrenched user base on Bandcamp. That would be the hard one. But like the act of like, we will take money, we will give a bunch to the artist, and then we will keep a little bit for ourselves to keep the lights on and keep us in Ferraris or whatever. To keep these toilets gold plated.
And then you can download these hot flacks all day long. Flack it up. You want MP3s? We would love to serve you MP3s. They're much smaller. Actually, I wonder what the thing, because I mean, they probably do all the transcodes immediately when you upload and then just serve the files rather than, they're going to transcode on the fly. That's ridiculous. You wouldn't do that. That's intensive or more intensive. Anyway, Epic laid off a bunch of people. It's fucking terrible. You start to like back into it and start to wonder like, oh, did they see Unity fucking up all day long and then realize like, oh, I mean, yeah, we can get away with this now. No one's going to rake us over the coals as hard as they're getting it right now. We're not going to lose Unreal Engine customers over this. So go for it, bro. I don't know. That's dark. It's dark to think about like conspiratorially about those sorts of timing type issues, but yeah, it sucks. Also caught up in that. This is a story from earlier today. I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, but Sergey Galyonkin, who's the director of publishing strategy of Epic Games, is leaving the company after 8 years. He is also the creator of Steam Spy. He created Steam Spy, which was a really fascinating stat tracking site for Steam. And it was such a fascinating analytics platform that Epic said, we should get that guy in here and have him crunch our numbers and have us help us figure stuff out. And then he continued to run Steam Spy on the side, I guess, but not quite to the same degree. And then Steam, I think, changed a lot of the ability to stare into the platform. They closed up some of the holes that Steam Spy was using to get data. And so that data has gotten a lot fuzzier over the years, whereas I think they used to be able to say, like, here's the exact number of people who purchased this video game. I think they are, or how many libraries contain this video game is actually maybe the thing that they track as opposed to purchases. But I think that stuff, they have gotten significantly less accurate over the years because now it relies on users to log into Steam Spy and upload all their tickets or whatever it is. And that seems a little funky. Anyway, he is leaving Epic. Today was his last day. Today is officially my last day at Epic Games. These 8 years have been some of the most exciting in my career, and I am deeply grateful to my former Epic Games colleagues and Tim Sweeney for allowing me to help build Epic 4.0. He goes on and says, now Epic Games is on its way to transforming from a game developer, engine creator, and publisher into a platform, Epic 5.0. I am not a good fit for this new version of Epic. It requires people of a different kind. I plan to remain in the gaming industry. I also hope to be more vocal now that I don't have to worry about the PR department knocking on my DMs. But yeah, I mean, he was there for the rev share, the 8812 stuff. He says, we launched Fortnite. We proved that free to play without pay to win can work at scale. Like all that sort of stuff. He says, I'm also immensely thankful for the generous $144 million donation Epic Games sent to various charities to help Ukraine in the early days of the Russian invasion. At that time, Epic Games was ahead of some G7 countries in providing support. It means the world to me, and while I wasn't always polite during those discussions, I will forever be grateful. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. They obviously the kind of newsworthy bit there, beyond, hey, this is the Steam Spy guy who seemed like he, was an analytical genius when he built the Steam Spy platform. And I'm sure that was something that benefited Epic. That was knowledge, not necessarily knowledge specific to Steam, but the learnings he was able to take away from staring at Steam data. And that was probably a lot of know-how that they could put to work, or put into the platform that they were building. But the thing here is, yes, Epic Games is on its way to transitioning from a game developer, engine creator, and publisher into a platform, Epic 5.0. I wonder if that's, you know, like, because Fortnite is a platform. Fortnite is already on its way to becoming more and more like Roblox all the time. It already has that third-party creator economy built into it, and you know there are already people making those platforms and blah blah blah. So obviously they're not ending their publishing business, and they're not ending their client, their game client, or whatever else. But you start to wonder, like, okay, and they're not going to end their engine business, clearly. So what does the idea of Epic as a platform really mean? Does it become a situation where they're like, oh, well, you can, as opposed to just using our engine and shipping it wherever, what if you just came in and launched it on the Epic platform, and that's the Unreal Engine, and it's tied into Fortnite, and it's, you know, are they building a front end of a variety of experiences in a way that doesn't necessarily, because, you know, Roblox, everything still runs within Roblox, right? It's kind of, you know, it is its closed environment in its own weird way. What if this was something where it was like, okay, yeah, like you can ship your game the normal way, or what if you just shipped it right onto our thing? You just push this button, and then people inside of Fortnite or Fortnite related experiences or whatever else will start to see it around the same way that they see, you know, fan-based mods of Fortnite, or, you know, whatever the creator economy stuff they're doing now. Like, I wonder if it just ends up meaning like, hey, larger experiences, full products can exist inside of this ecosystem, not just here's, when you click on this one, it's got naked Jennifer Aniston, and when you click on this, you know, something more like Sandbox, or again, something more like Roblox. I wonder if that's what he's referring to, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what Epic's up to. I don't know. Like, it's a fascinating company. I think that the stuff that they grew in weird ways, and the story I always heard is that, you know, if you're going to go work at Epic, it's going to be one of the hardest jobs you take on, because they didn't have a ton of people, you know, for as much as they just laid off. I mean, for as much as, you know, 830 people is 16% of the company, which makes them sound like a pretty large company. You never got the impression that some of these departments were just like staffed with thousands of fucking people either. It was a big company, but it was a big company in a lot of different businesses and in a lot of different pies and whatever else, right? So you'd always hear like, oh man, yeah, it's this individual team is like fucking 3 people, and they're all working their fucking asses off, and, you know, and they're getting great bonuses, but like they've got, you know, that was always the story I heard. I don't know. So I imagine it's going to be a little bit more like that for a while post layoff. And of course, Donald Mustard just retired. You know, he was the creative, the head of creative for the whole company. He was running Fortnite, all that other stuff. He just split too. I wonder if he got to a point where he's just like looking at what they were about to do and looking at it and going like, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, I don't know. Who knows? Speaking of not wanting to do this anymore, Jim Ryan has announced plans to leave Sony Interactive Entertainment, effective April 1st, 2024. No, I'm sorry. That's okay. So there's a transition here. So he's going to retire in March of 2024. Sony Group Corporation president. This is the long statement that Sony issued, filtered through videogameschronicle.com. Sony Group Corporation president, COO, and CFO Hiroki Totoki will assume the role of chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment effective October 2023. So right now, if not right now, then very soon. And then effective April 1st, 2024, he will be appointed the interim CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment. So he's chairman immediately, and he will be interim CEO as soon as Jim Ryan wraps up in March, while he continues his current role at the Sony Group Corporation. So interim, I mean, meaning, they're eventually looking to put someone into that seat that is not necessarily someone from the core Sony group. They got some other stuff here. Mr. Tsutoki will work closely with Sony Group Corporation Chairman and CEO Kenichiro Yoshida and the management team of SIE to help define the next chapter of PlayStation's future, including the succession of the CEO role. And then Jim Ryan put out a statement of his own. After 30 years, I've made the decision to retire from Sony Interactive Entertainment in March. I've relished the opportunity to have a job I love in a very special company, working with great people and incredible partners, but I've found it increasingly difficult to reconcile living in Europe and working in North America. I will leave having been privileged to work on products that have touched millions of lives around the world. PlayStation will always be a part of my life, and I feel more optimistic than ever about the future of SIE. I want to thank Yoshida-san for placing so much trust in me and being an incredibly sensitive and supportive leader. And then the rest of the statement is a lot of people saying, like, Jim Ryan is an inspiration. Jim Ryan's fantastic. He's the best. We'll miss him a lot. We'll be fine. So yeah, this, I mean, hey, yes, living in Europe, working in North America, a pretty clear cut thing to be like, hey, I don't want to fucking do this anymore. There's also been kind of a weird undercurrent of, I meant to make a note of this. There's been a bubbling undercurrent of a couple of things. This was a Bloomberg story, I believe. And it was basically saying that a lot of the Sony strategy is in a weird place, and that there's starting to be an undercurrent of just like, hey guys, this is maybe a mess. Like this division is rapidly heading off the rails. It sounded like that was the feeling of some insiders, I guess, I believe that was the crux of the Bloomberg story, which I don't have in front of me. I'm sorry. It's been a hectic fucking 48 hours. Sorry. Anyway, and then you have some people who are just like, yeah, fuck Jim Ryan, get him out of there. And I was like, I don't know, like that. He's not. Does he set the tone and the tenor of a lot of these conversations? Sure. Is he the complete architect and executor of the entire PlayStation Group strategy? Not so much. But basically the implication is just like, hey, between PlayStation VR 2, this fucking streaming device thing they're about to put out, the Q, whatever that thing is actually called, slips my mind at the moment, and the live service game push, Portal, PlayStation Portal. Yes, the PSP, of course. How can I forget? That they are kind of taking their eye off the ball, or rather not finding a new ball. The new balls are not coalescing and materializing the way that they need them to. They probably also spent a good long time doing whatever they could to stick it to Microsoft on this Activision acquisition. And I'm sure that benefited them to a certain degree by forcing Microsoft to give up some different little parts of their business or whatever. But I don't know. It just feels like aspects of this are maybe taking a little longer to come together than they anticipated, and maybe internal development of some of these live games is maybe not happening at the rate that they thought it would, or whatever the deal is. I the PlayStation business, I think I don't have a good handle on it anymore. I don't really feel like I've got a good grasp on. I know what I would like them to do. I know what I think would make them. I think I have a good handle on what would make them beloved by players in a way that they have started to slip on a little bit. That's not to say Sony doesn't have its fans. Of course it does. They make some of the biggest and brightest and most anticipated big single player games in the business, right? They own some amazing, amazing studios that turn out fucking hits, right? But there's just, the other parts of the business. And then you've got Jim Ryan over the years being the guy that says, like, have you seen Gran Turismo 2? It looks like fucking shit. It looks like a fucking cat threw up on a dog. What is it, a car? Is that a car? Fuck, that doesn't even look like a fucking car. Fuck, I'm paraphrasing a little bit here. Old games are for assholes, I think is a direct quote. No, but he found himself in the middle of conversations that are not player friendly, that are not PlayStation fan friendly. Fans of PlayStation, they're the ones that care. Like, hey man, we care about the whole lineage of this thing. Why the fuck do you think I fucking talk about Jumping Flash and fucking Siphon Filter every fucking 6 weeks? Because I hate those games? No, they're fucking, why do you think I'm over here going like, man, fucking Vib Ribbon? That was when Sony was fucking on one in the best possible way. Why do you think there's still people out there that talk about Wipeout? And the problem is, there might not be enough of them for the types of bets and the types of budgets and the size of project that Sony seems to really care about these days. Like, I get it. I get why they don't make a new Wipeout with the way that business is currently structured. And that's why I say I would if you're restructuring that business, if you're really worried about the path that they're on, and you're just like, fuck, man, this shit ain't coming together. You've got the IP to ride it out. You've got the IP to if you can just fucking like get yourself a Skunkworks team here and there that's just like, hey, by the way, Wipeout's back. We've decided to make a new Ape Escape. No, you don't have to make a zillion of these fucking games, but if you have some small projects out there that you're just like, yeah, I don't know, we because you demanded it, we hear you, and here at the Sony Corporation, we're proud to announce the reboot of Jet Moto. Just like fucking do one a year to keep the people on the hook, the people that have been there for the longest time. And get them, play the nostalgia card. They don't do it. Like, Sony doesn't really do it that much, right? I mean, they shut down all the studios that could play the nostalgia card effectively. Make a new fucking Lemmings. Just little stuff like that, and keep it little. Again, like these should be boutique style projects that are not expensive, that are it'd be hard for them to lose money, right? If you do them on a small enough scale, right? And I think, you continue to develop and they were really good in the PlayStation 4 era of showcasing indie developers. And it doesn't feel like they do that. And it's not to say that the games aren't appearing on the platform. I mean, fuck, man, Roblox is appearing on the platform. Like, there's a lot of stuff on PlayStation. Everything comes to PlayStation. Not everything. El Paso elsewhere, not on PlayStation. Currently. Maybe it will be someday. But yeah, Astro's Playroom is like a great example of like, here's this astounding nostalgia play that is modern in its own ways, but it's like, there were aspects of that I got like slightly misty playing it, that I was just like, oh man, yeah. I had to basically fucking stab a dude to get a PlayStation 2. That sort of shit. And they just don't really capitalize on any of that anymore, because they're just like, I don't know, man, here's another game where a fucking sad dude is going to stab 1 billion people, and it's going to be the fucking game of the year. It's like, I'm this. People want those games. I don't, I'm not necessarily talking shit about them. But yeah, I don't know. I look at it that way. I think when I think about the things that Sony is fucking up, I think that the PlayStation VR 2 was a mistake. I don't know, you know, and that's without looking at how well it's sold or whatever else. When I just think about the gist of like people wanting VR, not wanting VR, whatever else, I just don't, it doesn't, it feels like something that they put it out and it had a batch of games and then they're just like, all right, our job here is done. And that's not entirely true because they actually just last week did post like another blog post of just like, hey, here's 12 more games that are coming to PlayStation VR. And you're just like, all right, cool. You know, I don't care. It's fine. And that's not to say that it's not a good product. It is a quality. It's a great VR headset. But why didn't they sell it in stores? Why couldn't they get stores to take it? Why wouldn't stores take stock of the PlayStation VR 2 at launch? Why did they decide to sell it direct? Seems like that's what they're doing with the PlayStation Portal, right? Is they're going to do pre-orders for that themselves? Like I don't. Again, you could do VR. There's no reason not, but well, there is a reason not to. I think the reason not to is just like you could have spent all that money on a bunch of other stuff that would appeal to 100% of your, or a much larger percentage of your fan base. It's cool that it exists. I think Gran Turismo 7 is mind-blowing in VR. It's a great experience. Like they've done a fantastic job. It's really cool that you can do that. So it's like I'm a little. You know, you could kind of do it. You don't necessarily have to, but you kind of, but I just look at it and go, all the time and effort that you spent developing that product, all the money you spent bringing it to market. You could have focused on getting more PlayStation 5s on shelves earlier. You could have put more money into some games. You could have, it's a strategic difference, right? I think I would have spent that money in a different way. I would have went back to the R&D boys and said, nah, let's not do a PlayStation VR 2. It just doesn't seem like people need it. Like, yeah, we could. It'd be better. But how about instead we just make the PSVR 1 work? Why don't you guys just like develop a shim that will make it work with the new camera? And we can sell new controllers that aren't Move controllers or something. Like, is that a good half step? Can we half step our way into this without having to fucking go all out? Like, maybe, I don't know. But I don't know. I'm talking my ass. It's the point being, I think that Sony has just gotten into some fucking weird shit, and I think that they, we'll see if the live game thing pays off for them or not. I think that that's a really weird, it's a weird move for them just because it's been a thing. It's not a weird move. It's probably the right move for them because it's a gaping hole in their game, in their catalog and their strategy, that they just don't have stuff like that. And so, yeah, chase it. Go buy Bungie. Yeah. Yes, Bungie's good. They make a lot of good games. And they probably have learned a lot about running a live game. So you get them in there and have them kick the tires on some of this stuff and tell you why it's all bad. Anyway, I guess I just look at the Sony strategy and just go like, I see how you got into this, but it's just like, this is not the right time for it. Not enough people want a new headset. I mean, if the announcement of they just announced the Quest 3 formally, right? I mean, I know it leaked a while back, but they're like, we're making a new Quest VR headset. I'm like, yeah, of course you are. Do people want, there was some leaked number that came alongside that announcement, or came alongside the leak that was just like, hey man, we've sold a lot of Quest headsets, but the percentage of them that have been turned on in the last however many days is like fucking 6%. It's like some insane low number. There's like no one is, like, a bunch of people bought one and then they realized like, I don't want to fucking fuck with this thing anymore. I'm interested in the Quest 3 from a technical perspective and whatever else. Like it looks like a very nice headset. Sure, but at the end of the day, you've made a slightly nicer VR headset And I think we've proven that that's not necessarily a thing that people are fucking jumping out of windows excited about, like, I gotta get it. You know, like the number of people that are just like making a mess in their pants over the idea of a new VR headset. It's just not a thing. It's just not. It didn't work out that way. And so Sony chasing it when, you know, they've got tons of other great gaming businesses that they could expand on better. You just look at it and go like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. That's a direction you could go. I don't know that it's the best choice to make, but why not? With the Quest stuff, I get it, because like that's their whole thing. It's not like they're a mainstream gaming business and they're like, welp, it's time to get into VR. So that's their whole thing. It's like they're like, we are a VR thing, and so we're going to continue to be into VR. So it makes sense for them to keep banging that drum, I guess. But I don't know, Sony seems like they could have gotten out. Anyway, Jim Ryan, I don't necessarily have like a huge opinion on him. Like, you know, there's been a lot of things that are like, good riddance to Jim Ryan, and I don't necessarily share that opinion, but it's mostly because I didn't work for him. I don't know. Like I the one thing I remember hearing, well, there was the abortion stuff where he was just like, we've got it. It was just like, dude, that's nonsense. But I remember hearing that he would send out these long-winded regular update emails to the entire company, basically like the entire PlayStation division, that would include just like updates on what his dog is doing and fancy restaurants that, you know, when you're in France, you've absolutely got to check out this restaurant. They've got this, they've got it's just like, what the fuck? Who is reading this and going, why? Like, why are you sending this to so many people? Very, very ridiculous. But, you know, he'll be remembered as the guy who, you know, said that no one wanted to play old video games, and that, you know, that makes him an enemy of the people, basically, right? I mean, at that point. But yeah. Sony also deleted a bunch of tweets and made a video for the Knights of the Old Republic remake private, a trailer for them when that thing was announced. That led to, you know, this is one of those things that we're going to talk about it. We're going to say what they said, and then we're going to nod and go like, really? Who can say? But the story here is that Sony removed a lot of promotional material for the KOTOR remake that they helped announce back in 2021. This is a timeline kind of built by Video Games Chronicle, a little bit of Steven Totillo in there. Like, it is a handful of outlets wrote about this. And the statement from Sony, when someone finally got a hold of Sony and said, what is the KOTOR remake dead or what? They said, as part of normal business, we delist assets with licensed music when the licenses expire. That was something that Steven Totillo got that answer out of Sony. And then he said, of course, now I'm asking why the music license would expire for an upcoming game. I think the answer there is that when trailers hit, the trailers do still have asset rights with them. So that's not necessarily something that is impossible. But as Video Games Chronicles Andy Robinson notes, a search of PlayStation's YouTube account shows that many Star Wars game trailers, at least as far back as 10 years ago, are still publicly listed. So It's not like there's a blanket expiration on, yo, man, this has that Star Wars music in it. You got to cut it. Of course, that this was a game that Aspyr was working on. The remake of Knights of the Old Republic, you have to remember, is something that was coming from the Embracer Group. First Aspyr, and then Bloomberg reported that Aspyr was no longer working on the game, and that Saber Interactive, which is just another way to say Embracer, or there's, it's all the same parent company, that they were working on the game and had potentially taken over development. And we still haven't heard anything specific about it since then, but that doesn't bode well. But yeah, it was announced at a PlayStation Showcase event in September of 2021 and was said to be a timed exclusive on the PS5. So you could look at that and say, hey, case closed. We asked Sony and they said, the license to the music and the assets expired. I go, okay. But there's probably something else going on here, right? Some other folks, some other outlets asked Disney, and Disney pointed them at Sony and said, nah, dog, I don't know. That's what happens if you ask Sony something. Fucking, I don't know. Talk to Sony about it, and then there's just like this clatter, this clash, because the gesticulating has knocked over like 18,000 Diet Coke cans, and then the call just disconnects. It's like, all right, well, I don't know. So take odds. You think the KOTOR remake is ever going to see the light of day? Especially like the already the news about Aspyr was doing it, and then that was apparently going poor, and so it got moved over to Saber. That was already kind of a thing that was just like, I don't know if this thing's ever going to happen, is it? And now you lump in everything that has happened to the Embracer Group over the last couple of months here. We'll see. We will see. I'm going to vote no. I'm going to vote that this trailer and all this other stuff getting removed, if it does not signify that the project itself is dead, then it signifies that perhaps something about the business arrangement changed in a way that they just went, well, fuck, all right, well, delete all the shit. Or something along those lines, or I don't know. I don't know. But I feel like I'm gonna take the no on that one. That's probably not gonna go. And then the last story I've got here. This I'm bummed out by this. Also, I'm not surprised by this. Also, I'm mildly surprised by this, but also it's a rare moment where a company does the right thing, but also the consequences that come with that are super shitty. Sega has canceled the game Hyenas, as well as some games that had not been announced yet. But Hyenas, which was from Creative Assembly, kind of I guess we could call it a hero shooter, because you build up and you have ults and whatever else. And then in the middle of the arena, there was kind of a zero gravity area. But the idea is that you would be in these areas and you would have to go steal loot. In the game, they refer to it as merch. And all the merch would be weird 80s themed Earth items, like a Rubik's Cube or an Atari 2600 or a, like there are Centipede arcade machines and Outrun arcade machines in the levels and stuff like that. And so you would go steal these items and then escape with them. And then there would be other teams that would try to stop you from doing that so that they could escape with it and they would win. And so that was basically the push and pull of it. was, you would go in and fight AI to crack into these vaults, and then other teams would be doing the same thing, but also fucking you over and whatever else. It's not, the tone and the structure, the idea that they're just like leaning on all this 80s shit. That's none of it's in the game. Like I talked about it because they ran betas, and so you can go back and find the episode of the podcast when, where we talked about my time with the beta for this. This looked like pretty close, like in terms of like a beta. Like it looked like, are they just going to ship this soon? Because it looks like, if the content is there, then they could. But it was like this very cynical, weird kind of fake anti-capitalism. It's just like, we got to get in there and steal the merch, and then you leave, and it says like, you got a copy of Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham, and it's just a picture of a record. You can't listen to it. There's no way to listen to it. There's no way to play with the Rubik's Cube that you stole or what. It's just like, it's a list of fucking shit. And you read the list and go, oh yeah, I remember that song. Can I listen to it? No? Oh, okay. And so Hyenas just, it always seemed like this middling at best shooter. Anyway, I think the thing I said at the time was just like, this is the sort of game that gets canceled 7 months after release because it will not find a player base. And they ran another beta. They ran some betas after that, and they sent out a thing saying like, thanks for playing in the last beta. We learned a lot. And then like 6 days later, canceled the fucking game. This would all be like, a lot easier to talk about, I think, in a humorous way, but the people are going to lose their jobs over this. Like, people at Creative Assembly are going to be laid off because of this. And I think that fucking sucks. It's like they didn't, because there's like good work went into that game. Not to say it was going to be some great game, but like look at it like, someone spent a lot of time making aspects of this thing. And it was kind of a bad idea off the fucking bat. And you just look at it and go like, did someone just go like, yeah, let's have Creative Assembly make something different for a change? They're really burned out. Their Total War games are great and all, but like, we got to let them do something else or they're going to go nuts. Or like, what did the pitch process for this thing look like? Did they just say, we need some live service games? We need some competitive shooters. Who's got an idea? Who's got an idea? You've got, go. And then this came out of it, and they looked at it and said like, no one's going to stop playing Exo Primal to play this. I'm kidding. Yeah, you just kind of look at it and go like, I don't know why this, I don't like, why is this game getting made? And then playing in the beta, you're like, I really want to know why this game's being made, because nothing about this is a standout enough to get it a player base. Like, it just never felt like a thing that was going to make it. And I guess I am not the only person who felt that way. And it's shitty. But I get it. Because I said it weeks ago. I was just like, yeah, Hyenas did not seem like a game that had a shot at making it in the highly, highly, highly cutthroat world of shooters. On like this genre of game, the competitive shooter, the PvPvE, whatever, like whatever you want to call their specific mix up of it. You look at it and go like, yeah, okay, all right, there are other games that I would rather play than this that scratch the exact same itch and scratch it better. I'll put it to you this way. I would rather play, the finals. Yeah, the finals is not entirely dissimilar to that. But I also don't know that I think that the finals has a massive shot at survival, but they showed a very narrow beta, so perhaps they've got a wide swath of content, and they've got the cool foam gun. Like they've got a good visual trickery thing that's just like, oh, look at that, that's crazy. Whereas Hyenas had the zero gravity thing in the middle of levels, and you're like, oh, I believe Cliff Bleszinski tried this, and now he's out of games. Yeah, I don't know. It's brutal. Like it's fucking brutal. But it's a brutal genre right now. I think the established players are so fucking well established. Someone's asking Cliff, he's out of games. Like, well, Cliff has a comic book. Cliff is producing Broadway shows. Like he's doing he's doing all kinds of other stuff. And he put out his book, and maybe he'll get back into games at some point. It seems like the sort of guy that will always have that in his back pocket and probably always could get back into it. But he's off doing other stuff. And good on him. He seems like he's doing well. Someone in chat says, according to one of the senior devs who was was that Total War Warhammer 3, TWW3? For 6 years, they were sounding the alarm on trying to make a live service shooter. Yeah, it's a crowded genre. It's, yeah, and some people are talking about the Foam Stars beta, which I did not get to play, unfortunately, with everything that's been happening, with the baby coming and everything. I sadly downloaded, but was not able to engage with the Foam Stars beta. Foam Stars at least seemed like a game that potentially had a hook, and if it was free to play, you could maybe see it doing something. I don't know. Do I think it's going to be the biggest game in the world? No. Do I think it could hang on for a while? Maybe. But like, fuck, man, like we were just talking, not that long ago about X Defiant. Ubisoft's Call of Duty-esque shooter. And that's going to, I believe, be free to play. I don't think that that's going to make it long term. It's not bad. It just feels like it's missing a little something. And it's just, it's the watching these developers, watching like talented teams. It's because it's not like just some minor small team from some company. It's not like just like someone dumped a bunch of Chinese money on a studio and then they made a mobile game and you load it up and you go like, why does this look like World of Warcraft? This is like studios and people with, pedigrees in the game industry that are going off and working on these projects, and you just look at them and go like, I don't like it. X Defiant didn't seem like a bad game. And when it comes out, I will download it and I will play it and I will try it out. And, there's always the possibility that I could be wrong. But the entrenched games seem so entrenched right now. It just feels very hard to break that. Of course, I will also remind you that is how everyone felt when Apex Legends got announced. That it was just like, this doesn't stand a fucking, whether, make a new battle royale game, you're fucking 2 years too late, fuckos. And they did it. There's always going to be room for a great game that can just go off base just enough to like, to find their lane, right? Right, Apex, yeah, I mean, the jury's still out if Apex Legends is going to work. I don't know. I think, we'll see. I hear they're gonna get it out in Japan. I actually just deleted Apex Legends from my iPad the other day, and it transferred to my new phone when I bought my new iPhone. Apex transferred over there, and I was like, oh right, that doesn't do anything. I had like 3 games on there. It was the mobile version of Apex. it was the Final Fantasy VII Battle Royale. Those were the two games. I was like, oh geez, I should probably delete these. You say, oh well, yeah, Respawn was behind Apex and they have a pedigree. Like, there are people on X Defiant that have Call of Duty experience and have, it's maybe not a studio that has been together for multiple games or whatever else, but it's people that. There was a WWE game that also did not work, but Supercard still works, thankfully. WWE Slam went offline. It's sad state of affairs. Yeah, so I don't know. I look at this stuff and it's sometimes those games will punch through. That's really all there is to it. Is sometimes a game will come together and do enough differently that you look at it and go like, yeah, no, this seems like it could go. And that's how I felt about Apex when it first came out, because I was, it was very easy to fucking be bummed out about Apex as a Titanfall 2 player. That was just like, oh shit, you're chasing this now? You're never going to make it. And you're like, oh, you did make it. You made it in such a way that like now there's never going to be another Titanfall. I mean, good on you, but God. And so I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to pick them sometimes, but I think it's easy to see when a game, like after playing a game for a good chunk of time, because playing Apex, there was a proof in the pudding sort of situation where you're just like, this feels fucking awesome. Like it feels really good. Will it make it? I don't know, but it's at least you could look at it and go like, this is a quality project. Like this is fucking awesome. But some of this other stuff, you just look at it and go like, I don't think this is, and that's kind of how I felt about Hyenas. And that is the sinking feeling I would say I have about X Defiant also. And I hope I'm wrong with everything, right? When it comes to like naysaying a game's success, like I would love to be wrong. I would love for games to succeed as long as they're of a certain level of quality, I suppose. And like I said, X Defiant, there's nothing about it that you're just like, this is horrific, this is broken, this is garbage, this feels like, it feels okay. You play it and you're like, yeah, okay. Like you're kind of making a Call of Duty thing, but kind of making a hero shooter, and you're kind of doing this, and like, I don't know, the control configuration stuff feels a little off, but I think it was just a lack of kill streaks, which I know is a weird thing, but it's just, it's less the kill streaks themselves and more like it just felt like it needed more going on. Like, here's a bunch of guys running around a level from Watch Dogs, and they sure are shooting the shit out of each other. And then occasionally, one of them turns invisible. And you're like, oh, okay. I gotcha. Yeah. I gotcha. I was like, that last Black Ops, right? Where they're just like, they tried to make it a hero. Like, this lady's got a big bazooka, a grenade launcher. And when you fill the meter, you can rewind time. And you're like, that sounds fun. Except someone always picks that character and I can't. Or also, this is not a thing I want to do in Call of Duty. Whatever. You get my point. It is unfortunate. The Hyenas situation just feels bad. It feels icky. Even as someone who played that beta and was just like, nah, no, this ain't gonna end well. I still thought the game would launch. Jesus Christ. Anyway, that's it for the news. For now. The voice actor from Star Wars Jedi Survivor said they're going to make a third one of those, which... Duh. Let's get into some emails. podcast@guard.bike is the email address. Send in some emails. I will, I don't know. I'll read them eventually. Like I said, this may be the last episode of the show for a little bit here. We'll see. I don't, we'll see how it all goes. I don't know. Like I'm gonna take some kind of time off, but it may be a situation where, you know, kind of do the podcast and kind of ease back into some of the other stuff. We'll see how it all works out. It all depends on how we get out of the hospital, what condition my wife's in, and how we take to managing 3 kids instead of 2. It sounds easy. Anyway, John from Philadelphia writes in, and he actually he's just asking about the Epic 5.0 platform stuff. He also points out something I forgot to mention. The price of V-Bucks is going through the fucking roof. That's not true. The cost for 1,000 V-Bucks, I think, is going from $7.99 to $8.99, and some of the other packs are also going up accordingly here in the United States, and then in other countries around the world. They've either already made those changes or they are making those changes as well. So yeah, if you invested heavy in V-Bucks early, congratulations. It's all about to pay off, baby. They did say that if you're part of their subscription service, the price of that is not going to change. Your V-Bucks, all that other stuff will still go in. So you say going from 1 kid to 2 is the hardest, and 2 to 3 you've got. Yeah, I mean, we bought the minivan. We went and got a minivan, so I figured, I built a new bassinet because the old one went through the first 2 kids and got too rickety to hold a third. So right now it's out in my garage with an NFL Blitz, NBA Showtime Sports Station board in it, just hanging out the top of a bassinet because that's my baby also. Anyway, combined with the price of V-Bucks going up, do you think that the Epic Game Store may not see the same level of support and focus moving forward? I'm wondering if this will result in a reduction in the number of free games offered and the end of publishing or exclusivity deals, such as the one for the upcoming Alan Wake 2. So I could see them maybe moving to taper down parts of the free. I don't know how well the free game program works for them. That always felt like their goal was to just get people to build up a library on the platform. And they've offered games multiple times, I want to say, or like I've definitely seen, because I don't keep track of the free games in the Epic Store, but I've definitely seen friends who go like, oh, I already got this one the last time they did it, or whatever else. And so I don't see people stoked about the quality of games that are free on the Epic Store. But that whole thing is like what the impression I always got on that is they probably have and we talked about this last week, I want to say, it's probably the case that most of the people with Epic accounts only play Fortnite and have never even looked at the storefront, have never like clicked on a game. And so the free games are a way to get those kids, those damned Fortnite kids, to go through the checkout process and actually experience the magic of buying a game. And it's $0, but you still get a receipt. You still go through the process. And so it feels like it's like, oh, if we can get people to establish this cadence where they're definitely visiting our store at least once or twice a week, eventually they're going to see something they want to buy, right? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the thing I see all the time is like people that just load up the Epic Store long enough to acquire the free games, never install them, never think about it. They're just like building a library of stuff that they never intend to actually play. And there's like, so I don't know. Maybe they tapered that off a little bit more. But as far as like spending money to get exclusivity deals and all that other stuff, I don't really see that changing for them because I don't, I think that that's probably something that's worked out at least a little okay for them. In terms of acquiring users and going through that process of getting people to actually load up their store and buy a game. Once you've jumped through those hoops once for one game, it's a lot easier to do it again. So yeah, I don't think that they will necessarily, they may end up being more picky, and they shut down Rumbleverse, which was a shocker to me. God damn it. Because that seemed like it. I was watching. I had to archive a bunch of footage because my hard drives were filling up. My C drive was getting full. I couldn't install an unreleased video game that I've been playing. It had to be installed to my C drive. And in the directory of all my archived video was all the footage of me playing Rumbleverse. And so I found myself watching myself play Rumbleverse. The sound was down. I'm not crazy. What a bummer. What a fun game that was. That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you just can't fucking call it. Because that's a game that I looked at and said, like, this has a shot. But, it did not go that way. Hopefully that thing makes its way somewhere again someday. Yeah. But yeah, I think that the stuff that they cut isn't necessarily stuff that will impact those operations dramatically. But also I think if they did slow down the free game stuff, I don't think anyone would know. I don't know. Would anyone notice? Would anyone care? Spencer in Denver. I just realized it's like super. I need to fucking go to sleep because I'm gonna get a phone call in 4 hours. I just know it. It's gonna come in like 2:30 in the morning. My wife's gonna say we're going to the hospital. I'll be like, oh yeah, and just that's a just my luck thing. Is I will fuck up and not get any sleep, which is how it went last night. So let's take a couple emails and then I'll publish this video to the internet and then go to sleep. I was thinking, as I often do, about the Sega Saturn. This is from Spencer in Denver. I was thinking about the Sega Saturn. Do you think there's any possibility of there being a collection of the best of those games getting re-released in some form? It may seem like a long shot with things like the TurboGrafx Mini and Alex Kidd and Miracle World DX. It truly seems like anything is possible. I know that there's more that came out on that system than Nights into Dreams. I hear Panzer Dragoon Saga is a hell of a game. So what do you think is standing in the way of quality re-releases of those games? I know the majority of the back catalog is Japan only, so is a lot of localization. Is it because it's still seen as the point where Sega fell off as a console manufacturer, blah, 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 or does Sega just not really give a shit about anything other than their marquee franchises? The Saturn stuff has traditionally been very hard to emulate. That is a situation that has really gotten better over the last handful of years. Software emulation of the Saturn is really quite good these days. It's not perfect, but it's very playable. There is a Saturn core for the Mister that is coming along. It is still very work in progress. It is still very unfinished, but that is a situation where, it's becoming a viable way to play Saturn games as time goes on. But the Saturn is just complicated enough that, like, the idea of putting out a mini Saturn, the emulation is still just shitty enough, still just weird enough that, like, it would not be good enough for a commercial quality project unless you did a bunch of additional work to it. You could do that, but that costs money. And how many people care? That's the actual bummer about this, is if you put out a Saturn collection, what do you put on it? And I'm sure, it's very easy to put together a list of quality Sega Saturn games. But is that list of quality Sega Saturn games a list of games that sells in a mainstream way, in a Spencer's Gifts mini console sort of way? Is it like, this thing is flying off the shelves for the holiday season? Is that going to happen? Makes sense with the NES. I mean, the TurboGrafx thing is like a weird fluke. That just happened because, Japan is a different market.
But I don't think the interest in the Saturn is quite there in a big enough way. For as much as a lot of us talk about the Sega Saturn a lot, I don't think those games aged especially well. I don't think a lot of those games are like fantastic. Yeah, Radiant Silvergun is coming to Steam, so like some of the third-party games have made their way to other platforms. There's no what's the big mainstream first-party Saturn game that you look at it and go like, I gotta get it? Is it Daytona? Is it the Panzer Dragoon games? Because some of those have gotten re-releases as well. I love Fighters Mega Mix. I love the Virtua, but you would do a Virtua Fighter. You would do the arcade versions of those. If you were doing a Virtua Fighter collection, and then you would put Fighters Mega Mix on it as like a hidden bonus in a VF collection. You would not port the Saturn version of VF2. Who gives a shit about the Saturn version of VF2? It's a great port, but we live in a world where you can play the arcade version just as easily. So why bother? Yeah, Panzer's Way, the Panzer Dragoon Saga, sure, yes, but again, when I think of the Saturn, I think of amazing 2D fighting games that appeared on the Saturn, but they were all ports of arcade games. And so you would not port the Saturn versions of those games in 99% of the situations. You just wouldn't, because you would use the arcade version instead. So it's one of those platforms that just, as time goes on and emulation and whatever else, like that stuff just doesn't become, how many people are lining up? I've got to play Burning Rangers again. Like, it's just not a thing. It's just not, there's not enough people that are in that boat to give a shit about it. So I just think that's the sad realization about the Saturn library when I really think about it and try to think about like re-releasing this stuff, is that it's that feeling of like, oftentimes the best games on this platform were ports of games that existed elsewhere. And these days you're better off just playing that instead. So when I go to load up a Saturn emulator and play stuff on it and go like, what am I going to play? It's always Fighters Mega Mix, because that doesn't exist anywhere else. Sega Rally, you would do the arcade version, but obviously that was meant to be played with a steering wheel, so you'd have to do some control stuff to truly emulate that one appropriately. And, but again, like a lot of the best Saturn games were arcade ports. So you would port the arcade version. You wouldn't dick around with a Saturn collection. No one is going, I need to play this specific Capcom fighting game, but it has to be the Saturn version. Yeah, I mean, yes. If we want to do Oscar 120% Burning Fest limited, or perhaps the official unofficial patch limit over, which rebalanced a lot of the game and was supposedly actually made by the people that developed the original game after that studio went out of business or something like that. Limit over. We should. Or Ricky Guitars asked, did GameSpot get a Saturn the day it was shadow dropped in the US? GameSpot did not exist when the Saturn was shadow dropped in the US. GameSpot launched in May of 1996. And so yeah, the Saturn was already out. I went and bought a Saturn right after they were shadow dropped in the US. I was not able to buy one on that very day because I was at that trade show. I was at CES, I guess. Did not go to that press conference, but I was there in town for that amazing time. And then I got home and went and got a Saturn. And then I brought it home and played Street Fighter, the movie, the game on it, and was like, what the fuck am I doing with my life?
because I had also already seen a PlayStation at that point, and I was like, this is cool, but like this is a stopgap until I get a PlayStation. Like the PlayStation was already killing the Saturn before it was even out. Let's take one more question here from Peter, who writes in and says, what's the difference between Smash TV for SNES and Smash TV Arcade? I'm glad you asked. The SNES version is called Super Smash TV. Thanks for writing in. All right. No, I mean, it's an arcade port. The audio and all the other stuff is not 100% identical, but Super Smash TV for the SNES actually has additional bonus rooms that did not exist in the arcade game. It'll be situations where, like, at the end of a level, you know, it highlights which directions you can go, which directions you could walk in. But if you just know which room, if you just like, oh, if I walk out the door to the right, even though it isn't lit up, it will let me go that way, and there's a bonus room over there. That stuff wasn't in the was not in the original arcade game. The original arcade game had a dev, you know, they patched it a lot in arcades to a point where they're just like, okay, we've added keys, and do the keys do anything? Not yet. Next revision, maybe the keys will do something. And then eventually they added the Pleasure Dome as a proper ending for the game. That was, I guess, that was just the midway way. They were just like, fuck it, let's ship a bunch of unfinished games. Smash TV, Mortal Kombat 2. Fuck it, we'll send out chips, and the kids will love it. And we did. Damn idiots. Anyway, that's going to do it. Thanks everybody for hanging out. The SNES version of Super Smash TV is incredible because the SNES controller is really good at effectively being a dual joystick setup, because the 4 buttons on the face are really good at being a kind of secondary joystick. And so it's a great way to play that game. The NES, you know, because you don't have to have 2 controllers, one in each hand, like some of the fucking dumb shit that like the NES version did. And obviously all those other ports are fucked up. It's a very close to arcade quality port. You'll see some differences in the graphics, and the, you know, the sound and stuff is interpolated by the SNES hardware. It's not, you know, it's not just exactly the same, but Super Smash TV for the Super Nintendo is a fantastic port of that game. Definitely worthwhile. And it has some extra stuff, which is kind of cool. All right. Well, I'm going to go back to waiting for my phone to ring. And so I guess, like, if it doesn't happen tonight, then my wife's going to come home because the kids aren't, you know, meaningfully sick anymore. So I think that fear is past. And then we're going to figure it out. I don't, you know, if things work out in such a way that I can cram a stream in, I might, but I'm not going to, no schedule. This is probably, let's just assume in all likelihood, this will be the last time you hear from me for a little while. And we'll see how it all goes. I will try to keep people posted, either on, you know, Blue Sky and other social media websites, Threads. Follow me on Threads. And of course on the Discord. If you're signed up for the Patreon, I'll post something to Patreon. I'll let people on the Discord know as soon as that stuff starts coalescing and start to figure out what the fuck's going on. And yes. Good luck. Okay. Yeah. Word from the chat here. Good luck, Jeff. I will never follow you on Threads. Thank you. It's don't. Threads is bad. I mean, I guess it's better than, at least it's not Twitter. You know, like, is that the bar these days? Like, at least it's, you know, at least it's less, it's like a little less disgusting. than Twitter has become, I guess. I don't know. Hey. I'm at a bit of a loss here. I don't know. We're going to go have this kid. It's going to be great. I've been, we talked about having 3, and we're going to do that. And then that's it. I don't know. I think the thing, we talked about having 3, and now we're gonna do that, and we'll be done. And then I would look forward to, I guess, eventually some hot vasectomy talk on this podcast, because I'm gonna go do that because I'm done in numerous ways. I'm done. I'm done, man. Just fucking stick a fork in me. Lay me the fucking hell down. No, yeah, so I don't know what happens. I mean, I know what happens from here. I just don't know when. I'm excited. I want this to happen sooner rather than later, now that my wife is in pretty frequent discomfort about it. I'm hoping that it doesn't drag on for days and days and days and days. But we're still a handful of days away from her actual due date. So we should stream the vasectomy. I'll. It's a Patreon exclusive. If the doctor will allow me to stream the audio stream, though. Audio stream. Nothing too. We can't. We're gonna show it. I'm not even gonna promise that that's not gonna happen. Let's just say that's not gonna happen. But I think that's a really fucking funny idea. Anyway, I'm gonna go get some sleep. It's been I got about an hour last night. And then I woke, so because my son wakes up about 4. My daughter wakes up about 6:30. So it's been a long day. Whatever. We do long days all the time around here. It's fucking fine. But I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna process this file, turn it around, and put it up, and all that other stuff. And then I will try to keep in touch where I can, but also I'm gonna try and get away. I it's not like a fun thing to say as a content creator, whatever else. Like, I'm here to fucking crank out some more fucking video game videos, you suck ass. And I'm like, I guess I gotta crank out. But I'm gonna try and get away for a little bit, because I didn't last time. Felt like I couldn't last time, I suppose, is the actual way to phrase that. Legally, I certainly could have, but realistically, was probably not going to happen. And then the first time, the first time I took the leave, but I don't remember. The first time was so crazy, because if I was waking up with my wife every time for feedings. And we just found ourselves multiple times a night sitting in the living room, sitting on the couch, watching QVC at like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, whatever else. And I eventually bought it's a stationary vacuum cleaner. It's basically like an automatic dustpan. It's like a big box. And the idea is that you put it near your pet, your cat's litter box, and then you sweep the litter when it gets on the floor. You sweep it over to this rectangular box, and there's a vacuum on the bottom of it. And as soon as you brush it with the broom, the vacuum turns on, and then you just vacuum all the food and whatever else into it, and it sucks up into this box. We had a cat at the time. And we had a baby at the time, and we're like, well, we don't want this baby to eat cat litter because that's bad. We would rather this baby doesn't get toxoplasmosis or whatever the fucking hell it is. And then the cat had diabetes, and we were buying insulin every month for it. But it had been on insulin for a very long time, and the cat ended up getting very, very sick, and we tried our best, but she was done not too long after we had our daughter. It's really fun is not the word, but when you go to a pharmacy to pick up insulin, and they know it's for a cat, every time without fail, they would stop and go, "You're buying insulin for a cat." They would see that you're picking up an insulin prescription for a cat. The cat, she passed away. This is 4 years ago now. It's it was my wife's cat that moved in with her when she moved. She was a great cat. Don't get me wrong. But there's enough distance from it now that her quality of life had gotten to a point with the diabetes and stuff that it was for the best in some ways. But there's a really weird thing when you're going in to pick up insulin every, 2 months or whatever. They insulin, they tell you, like, it's going to expire in a month and it's not going to work as well. But then also insulin is like $300. And so you would go to pick it up and they would start to ring it up and go, "Oh, okay, insulin for a cat, blah, 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 blah." And then the price would appear on their end, and you would just see them just go like their mouth just drop open, and they'd be like, "Do you know how much this cost?" And I would just go, "Yeah, yep, yes, I do. Yes, I am aware. Yep, sure am." Yeah, it was always it was like weirdly funny to do that part of it, I guess. I don't know. But I guess, is insulin cheaper yet, or it's going to be? Is that they're capping insulin at a certain price? I wonder. Anyway, that benefits a lot of people. My cat's. I'm not like my cat, but it was always just very weird to go and do that every. Again, they wanted us to get it every month, but yeah, pet insurance doesn't cover anything. Pet insurance is like, you got your nails covered, or your nails trimmed, and congratulations. It was just like real crazy. We asked all the time at the vet, and I was like, "I see you're selling pet insurance." And they would just look at us and just go like, "Nah, son." I'm like, "Okay, all right, okay." Anyway, that's my cat story. She was a good cat. And I'm gonna go. All right. So yeah, I'll see you when I see you, I guess. Good luck to everybody out there in the impending video game wars. When are video games coming out? When is Forza Motorsport actually out? Oh, come on. October 10th. Okay, so that's pretty soon. And then Spider-Man's out like the 20th, yeah. Yeah. Some big games coming up. Some big games. I'm looking forward to some Super Mario Wonder. I'm also looking forward to Spider-Man 2 quite a bit. I want to see how that thing came out. How they did it. How they nailed it. All that. But all right. I'm going to end the show for real now. It's hard to, yeah, it is hard to end the show with
knowing that the everything that's about to happen, all this other stuff. I'm just like, if I stay in this room, everything will just be fine. We'll just talk about video games and nothing else. But yeah, no, we're gonna have that baby. My wife is. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna go like this. Yeah, you're doing it. Perhaps I will hold a leg. I did that last time. I cut the umbilical cord last time, and I was not expecting to do that. The doctor was just like, here, cut here. And I'm like, oh, we didn't talk about this, because I would have said, this is not something I need to do. You can do it if you want. So I assume that's how that will happen again this time. So anyway, all right, I'm going to go try to sleep as much as I can, and we'll see how stuff goes. Again, I don't know how stuff's going to go. I don't know when you'll hear from me next, but when stuff starts to coalesce and we start to figure out what the fuck is going on, I will try to let you know and try to get things back on track as soon as it makes sense. Let me take a little bit of a break for hanging out with kids. A novel idea. Anyway, until then, take care, and I'll see you when I see you.